I'll have you do roll call as well then, okay?
Yeah.
So, are you ready?
Sure.
That's other duties as a sign.
Right, Mike. That was that small print.
Yes, I was just gonna say.
Since
I'm going to refrain from this.
Okay, it's 12 o'clock. We'll call the Surrey County Restorative Criminal Justice Coordinating Council meeting to order. Madam Clerk, may we have roll call?
Maureen Boucher. Here.
There she is.
Mark Howard. Hildendorf.
here,
Tom Hawk.
Here.
Jeff Johnson.
here,
Kathy McCoy.
Present.
Doug Noket. Bruce Paquette. Dee Colby.
Bellinger here.
Creed Schumann.
Here.
John Yackel. Elaine Smith.
Here.
8 out of 13.
So we're good. Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Let the record indicate we have a quorum. Certification of compliance with open meetings law.
This meeting has been noticed to the public and news media as required by section 1924 of the Wisconsin statute.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Did we omit pledge of allegiance?
That has not been on this meeting.
Okay. All right then. Madam Clerk, I'll turn the meeting over to you as our chairman of this committee has resigned. And so we have to go through elections for chair and vice chair of this committee. And Madam Clerk, I'll let you take it from there.
And I believe we will start with the chair position first, so we will be voting by secret ballot, so you.
So we need
Oh.
I would like to nominate Miss Kathy McCoy as chair of the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee.
Are there any other nominations for the position of chair? Second call for nominations. Nominations are closed for chair.
does the nominee have any words of wisdom?
Does the nominee know?
Did the nominee expect this? No. No, I don't have any words of wisdom. I mean, I'm fine with it. I believe very strongly in this committee, which is why I'm still here, even though I'm not on the county board anymore. Been here from the beginning, so there's a lot of potential. And I think we have to just keep moving forward.
That's why we nominate you.
Call for a
Okay.
unanimous vote then, since there's no other nominees.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Ms. McCoy?
Oh, I can take over now. Okay, so we'll move on then, and we'll, we need to elect a vice chair also.
Correct.
Okay, so, is there any nominations for vice chair?
The current vice chair, is that Mark Howard?
Nope, that's me.
Or two?
Yeah.
There you are.
I would actually like to nominate Gary.
Really?
Really, I think we can work together, Gary. We both have a lot of contacts within the community, which is a really strong thing. And I think we have contacts with the tribe also. I mean, we've known each other for years. So that would be why I would nominate you.
It's not too big a time commitment, I hope, is it? But, no, that's fine.
So is there any other nominations? Is there any other nominations? If not, I propose we close nominations and cast a unanimous vote for computer minister.
Yeah, I would make that motion.
All in favor of the motion?
All.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
It looks to kill.
Okay, so moving on then, we have the meeting agenda. I obviously didn't set this agenda. I don't know if there's any additions, changes that anyone would like to see to it. Now we'll move on to public comments. Anyone here from the public that would like to make a comment related to anything? Is there anybody online that would like to make a public comment?
No. Nobody online?
Moving on, we'll look at the minutes of the previous meeting. Everybody has a copy, and I assume everybody had a chance to read through them. Is there any corrections, changes?
Move to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Mr. Hoff. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Lieutenant. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Opposed? Didn't know, okay. Lorraine's abstaining because she didn't have the minutes. And I was, yeah, and I wasn't here either, so. All right, criminal justice coordinator, update.
So for pretrial supervision, we are at 68 as of this morning. We had a couple come off yesterday from sentencing. We have 5 that are enrolled in diversion now, and that number will go up. We're starting to do more assessments for that, and then we are just waiting on the final list from the DA's office on who is supposed to be contacting us for that, so that number will grow quite a bit. We have 6 on electronic monitor, and we don't have anyone on alcohol monitor right now. We have filed 167 over capacity memos. We have, that number's gone down a little bit too, because we have pulled a couple of people into pretrial. We had said that we were going to supervise 75, so we can add 7 more people, but I've just been holding off on that since it just went down, just because Becky has now accepted a new position, so she'll be leaving the end of December. So I don't want to bump our numbers up too much when we'll be losing someone and then someone else will be training in.
We didn't vote on that.
And that's just with like the diversion
Nay.
piece too. The assessments take a while, and so we don't want to jump up too many people doing office visits while we're doing those lengthy assessments for diversion, so. And then I think Nikki or Patrick were going to talk.
Hey everyone, this is Nikki. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we're very sad that we're going to be losing Becky. We have posted the position though. It closes next Friday, and so we'll be doing interviews as soon as we start getting candidates in the hopes that we can fill the position by the end of the year. And Becky very kindly gave us a lengthy period before her last day, so she's not leaving until the end of the month. So hopefully we'll have maybe even some overlap, but as close to eliminating a gap in the position as possible. And then I also just wanted to give the group an update on, I talked to the Department of Justice on where they are with the TAD applications. And they have gone through the scoring process, and they're waiting for the DHS Secretary and Attorney General approval, and allocations should be announced by the end of this week or early next week. So we should hear something on whether Sawyer County was awarded TAD funding or not.
Nikki, I had a question on where is this position posted? And would it be possible that we could get a tribal rep for that position? Could you answer that, please?
Yes. So it's posted on the Justice Point website. We also post on Indeed. And I can send you, Tweet, the link to the posting. If you want to post anywhere, we would welcome having a tribal representative as a case manager for Justice Point. So any publicity that we can get for the position would be greatly appreciated.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
What are the requirements for that?
So for the case manager position, it's a bachelor's degree, preferred some experience in the criminal justice system, preferred experience with the Microsoft suite, Let's see, I don't have it up in front of me, but I think those are the main qualifications.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions of Nikki?
And actually, Lynn, if I sent you the posting, could you get it out to the whole CJCC?
Sure can.
Okay, thank you.
So you've given notice, and you gotta catch me up because I wasn't here last month, of being over capacity, right, of 100 and,
Yep, 167 is where we're at right now.
so are those people just basically not being served at this point?
Yes. Yep, so some of them will occasionally like voluntarily get a hold of us and ask for help with services, but as of right now, we're not like hunting them down, making sure they're following their requirements, so.
And is there any other resources that are available to them that they could funnel somewhere else other than through Justice Point? I mean, is there anything else at the jail or anywhere that we could, you know, if people do reach out, like you said?
I mean, like if people are reaching out, like some of those people are going to like Bijiki for AODA and mental health services, some are going to North Lakes. But we don't know for sure like how many in that 167 because some of them are people like we've never even screened or met. So we really don't know, like some of them don't check in with us and we don't have their contact information. So now they come off of the list for pretrial supervision, like we'll do our best to like find their information if we can, but yeah, we just haven't had contact with all of them.
So we don't actively supervise them
No.
for like their court dates or
No.
whatever, but we do have people that come in and voluntarily ask for services who are on that wait list, and we will help them get resources that they need.
Yeah, we
Like
don't
you
turn
said,
them
through
away.
North
We don't
Lakes or
turn anyone away who
Right.
comes in voluntarily. So we have
Right.
helped people get in touch with the resources that they need.
Madam Chair, Lorraine and I attended a healing and wellness court graduate, along with your honor there. Healing and wellness court graduation yesterday, and it was just awesome. They had an individual there that had gone through all the parameters, jumped through all the hoops, and he was sober and experiencing a wonderful life. And Lorraine, you can comment on this too. I'm wondering, is that a diversion option for Justice Point? Our healing and wellness court at the Restorative.
I had asked our case manager to reach out to Justice Point, and I don't think she ever did. But I do think it is a way that we could help some more people because we have a huge problem. And I know there are people out there that we could possibly, you know, get into our program. So. Watch is going on.
And do they have to, that's not really wrong, be currently involved in the court system?
No, they just have to be a non-violent offender. They have to be a tribal member. And they have to already have their AODA assessment and sometimes mental health assessment. And then the team reviews the information and then decides as a team whether or not we will admit that person.
So will they actually do the AOD
They-
assessment? Will
we-
they do it or they have to?
Yeah, we send it to Bijiki.
Okay.
Yeah, they do it.
So you must have a strong link to the Bijiki Center then.
So they're on our team. Yeah, we have 3 members from Bijiki that are on our team. It's been very helpful. We have probation is on our team. We did have tribal for a little while, but they stopped coming. We have TANF, the school, the college, housing. So we have all those representatives. And we share information, which is helpful because, you know, they know what the services are.
So when, I just hate to go on, but the 167 you referred to, how do they get through them? Do they?
They're court ordered to report for pretrial supervision. So then what we do is we fill out a report and we file it with the clerk of court's office. So that way the courts know that we can't be supervising them because we're still over capacity.
And then it goes back to what the judge or DA
Mhm.
want to do, correct?
Yep, and typically, like, they're still aware that we're over capacity, but they'll still send them and then we just file the report. So like, they're aware as they're sending people still that a report will be filed.
You'd asked about resources at the jail. I don't know if you remember that Michael from Precision Kiosk that had come in to do the presentation. I went through training on the admin side of it, like where we get the reports and things like that. I've had discussion with the judge NDA, though we have not figured out an exact process of how that's going to work yet, but that's in the works. So that's a possibility as well. It only is for alcohol testing or checking in. The kiosk itself doesn't do drug testing, and the majority of the cases coming through are drug related. But the thought behind it is at least that way it gives the individual something where they're held accountable for. Because if they don't show up when they're supposed to show up, then that report, is something that would come to me. I can forward it to the DA then. So.
And a lot of it is dual substance abuse too.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, even though drugs seem to be the predominant thing that people are getting picked up on and stuff, but it doesn't mean that the alcohol component
Right.
isn't there. And so it might be a good way, like you said, to hold them accountable as a package, kind of, even though you're only testing for one.
Well, yeah, that and kind of the hope is if they're coming to a law enforcement agency, you'd hope they wouldn't be high, but
Yeah.
I mean, at least it's,
Right.
even if
They have
it,
to check in.
yeah, if it helps one person, it's worth it. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And we have it sitting there, so I mean, it's just not being, it's being underutilized. at this
Correct.
point. So I'm glad you took the initiative to do that. That's great.
The jail still doesn't allow NA meetings to go on inside the jail in a place, right?
Yep.
Oh, you do have NA meetings?
yep, all programming is run through Justice Fund.
Oh, great.
Yep.
Yeah, and we did have one meeting, but she's kind of been on hold right now for some life changes. That's Dottie
Oh,
from Vajiki. So she was going in and doing any meetings, but I think she still has paused that for now.
okay.
Yeah, we welcome any programs in the jail. It's a time and space issue. We only have 2 programs rooms and court goes on in one of them a great deal of the time. So it's, a matter of scheduling, but anything we can get in to help people, that's the goal.
That's great.
So is that one-on-one? Is that one-on-one?
One-on-ones are tough. It's usually in a group because, with the amount of inmates we had, somebody'd be there 24/7 if they wanted to see everybody, you know what I mean? So typically it's done in groups, and it's per housing unit, which we do to avoid items and things being passed between housing units. So it might be 1, it might be 4, it kind of depends. And they'll spend X amount of time with the group from one housing unit, then another group from a different housing unit. And so, yep.
So do we have traditional people coming in too?
Do we right now?
Yep, Steve.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that was mentioned before. I didn't know if it was-
It used to be WITC and I know it's not, it is now Northwoods, yeah, okay. So are they doing any classes? or
GED program,
They're
yep.
still doing GED.
Yep.
program. Okay. Is that, do quite a few people actually step forward to do that or not?
It kind of is hit and miss. It depends on the population at the time, the inmate population. Actually, recently though, I want to say within the last 3 months, we've had 3 or 4 people who have obtained their GED through that program. So,
And if we can remind the tribal members that as leaders, we want our people to continue their education. And when they're in a frame where they can continue to pick up where they left off, that we have a gift for them. Remind them of it. Tribal members. We want to give them a gift when they're done. So let us know which ones do complete. So in the end, we honor them that way.
Anybody else have any questions for Justice Point or any other discussion related to this? So I just need to be brought up to speed. So where are we at with Justice Point's contract at this point?
They are renewed for 2022. That was approved in the budget, same level of service, same cost for 2022.
And Tweed and Lorraine, is the tribe committed to funding again?
Yes.
And the funding,
Is
how
it-
much was budgeted?
Is it
now?
50 tons?
I believe it's 50,000 from the tribe.
Okay, and the county committed to 100,000?
The total budget for the program is up, I think, 225,000, something like that. That was the 2 positions plus some other things that fund that position. Or that fund this service.
So
That was
the total is 225, of which 50 is coming from the tribe or?
Yes.
Okay, so total is 225. So what would it take to get the other 167 people off of diversion? How much more staff?
So I know Nikki could probably speak more to this, but they're in the works of possibly having a third position to do like jail screenings and electronic monitoring, and I think just to help with some of that. But Nikki, you would probably have more insight into that.
Yep. So we've had some savings over the last year because what was budgeted for electronic monitoring was higher than the amount of electronic monitoring that we're getting from Huber. So with those cost savings, we are drafting a new contract to add a third position in order to help with screening at the jail for drug testing, and then for the electronic monitoring, doing the hookups, and then monitoring those cases through the database system. So that frees up Melissa and Becky to do more case management, and then we can raise the caseload levels for pretrial supervision.
Okay, I guess, yeah.
Well, and
I'm
then,
just saying, right, and it's not, it's, I know it's not like this amount exactly. I'm
well,
just
and
looking
we're
for
also
general.
starting something called CCAP alert. So like right now, we have to go through our list of people, not the ones on overcapacity, but diversion and pretrial, each week, and CCAP them, update court dates, like do things like that. We're starting a new system now, which is just up and running, that will, like, we'll plug people into the system, and then it'll alert us when they have anything going on in CCAP, like new charges, an updated court date. So that will save us a ton of time. And so then in turn, we'll be able to take more people on pretrial supervision, since we won't have some of like the more busy work to do too.
It's time consuming going through CCAP.
Mhm. And some of our people have charges in like every county in the state, it feels like. So then we're like, do they have a warrant out of this county this week? Nope, still good, you know, so like this will just email us like, hey, there's a problem. So
That's great.
Yeah, Melissa, when Tom and I went to the last Wisconsin counties meeting down in Madison, they had a presentation on restorative justice. And I had forwarded that to you, and I don't know if it got to Nikki or Becky, but is there any thought on that concept, or were you able to look through that presentation that I sent you?
I was able to look through some of it, but I was not able to get through the whole thing.
But it's really a different concept on how we treat offenders and how we rehabilitate them. And so I'd like you to look at that. And it looks like it, you know, it leans away from incarceration and more to rehabilitation and things like that, making them feel remorse and community service versus sit in jail and get worse. You know, that's kind of where it's going. It was a great presentation. Do you remember it, Tom? But it was just excellent on ideas that we can lower incarceration rates and actually rehabilitate people versus incarcerate them and increase recidivism. And you know, I've been preaching that forever, but it was really interesting. And I think some counties are buying into it.
Well, and I will say, like, Becky and I both do everything in our power to avoid people, even on pretrial supervision, being incarcerated. Like, we work with them and go, I think, above and beyond sometimes just to try to make sure like everything's being met so they don't wind up back in jail. But we can't help when people get busted in a car full of heroin on a Saturday night, you know? So, I mean, like, that's what makes it really tough for some of our people.
I can speak a little bit to restorative justice programs that we work with in other jurisdictions where Justice Point works. So our model for diversion is an evidence-based practice model. So assessing people, determining what their risks and needs are, and then using targeted interventions to try to address those needs and reduce their overall level of risk for recidivism. And so in a number of our programs in diversion, we do work with restorative justice programs, but we refer out to those programs. We don't have a restorative justice component within Justice Point that we work with. So if there's a restorative justice agency or any work that's being done around restorative justice in Sawyer County, we can definitely partner with those agencies to offer options for restorative justice, but it's not something that we have in our repertoire of programming.
Anybody else have any questions? Oh, I just one more thing. So of the people that are released from jail, how many do you think are in some type, hooked up with some type of program, in other words, when they get released?
I wouldn't have that data on
There'd
me.
be no way, is there any? way you
No,
could
that's
ever-
not something that we track.
No, is there any
So-
way that could ever be tracked? I mean,
I don't know, because some people even that are on pretrial supervision that we are actively supervising, it's like some of them, if they get released from jail, like they're never to be heard from again. So it's like, we don't have any way of knowing that either.
And we don't require that. They may ask for those services and we make those referrals.
Or we
And we'll
recommend.
follow- Yeah, and we'll follow up with them at their check-ins if they're going, but because we don't require that, we don't,
I mean, right. you're
Yeah.
done.
yeah.
I mean, diversion will be different as far as like requiring, but.
But not
pretrial
for
we can.
pretrial.
Right, anybody else have any questions? I just want to know how much money we have to raise to get everybody off the diversion. I mean, I'm not being facetious either. I mean, there are programs. We are a community. I mean, Gary knows this. This is partly why I'm here. I'm doing Operation Christmas. This is a $30,000 program that's going to serve 220 families. There is a lot of people in our community that are civic minded and that do have resources. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't have resources, but there are a lot of people that do. And so it seems kind of a weird thing, but maybe we need to start looking outside the box to the community more to try to come up with some funding if that's what we need so that these people can get into the diversion program and instead of not having them there. So maybe it's something that we need to look at the community or the faith community. Can we raise $25,000? Can we raise whatever? And how many people could that serve, in other words? Because people like the concept of, I can give $200 and I can get somebody into a diversion program. I mean, government isn't known for doing that necessarily, for being that type of organization, but we have a big crisis, like you said. I mean, this is a huge problem, and I think everybody who lives here knows it. So I think maybe it's just something, I'm trying to quantitate it, so that I can come up with, you know, I like things to be numbers to whatever. And I know this isn't always gonna work, but, so just a suggestion, and if somebody could maybe just look at some numbers to see, you know, do we need an extra $50,000? Do we need an extra $75,000? I do know that there's ARPA money out there. I mean, and, you know, that's gonna be, the county board's gonna have to look at what priorities are for spending some of that money. That doesn't mean that this committee can't make recommendations. We are not a voting body of the county or whatever, but we can make recommendations. So I think it would be good information to know.
And Kathy, you also need the DA and the judge to buy into this. So,
I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
I've had a couple.
Yeah.
with the DA.
I just wanted to clarify that of the individuals that aren't on supervision right now, those aren't individuals that are necessarily eligible for diversion programming. Those are individuals who have been released with conditions on their bond by the judge. So who's not being supervised are individuals who are on pretrial supervision. And those caseloads are approximately like 70 individuals per case manager in most of our programs. Everyone who's been referred and approved for diversion so far by the district attorney, we are supervising. So there's no one who's been eligible for diversion that we've turned away because we don't have the capacity for it. So I just wanted to clarify that we are accepting all diversion referrals, but the individuals who we've had to file a memo with the court, those are individuals on pretrial supervision.
Okay, so those are individuals that then are basically end up in the jail, right?
Right. So the judge is releasing them with conditions of their bond, and then Melissa and Becky are monitoring those conditions. But our primary focus for pretrial supervision is ensuring that people get back to court for their future court dates And then you're not engaging in any new criminal activity during the pretrial supervision period. So although Melissa and Becky are helping some of those individuals get into treatment or other resources that they may need, we haven't done a risk and needs assessment with those individuals that are on pretrial supervision. So we're not specifically targeting what those needs are in order to reduce the recidivism.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Chairman. Nikki, I see there's only 4 people on diversion though, out of all these people that are in the court system. Didn't the DA tell us that he wouldn't accept diversion because he didn't feel some of the diversion programs weren't evidence-based, or he didn't feel they were worthy of his thought, or to put them in diversion? Is that true, Nikki?
Well, a couple meetings ago, the district attorney felt that that Justice Point was not putting enough conditions on individuals that were being referred for diversion. Excuse me, at that meeting, we explained that individuals who are scoring low risk would not have many interventions placed as a recommendation from Justice Point. And if there were accountability factors that the district attorney wanted to add, that we would supervise those conditions, but they weren't going to come as a result of any assessment that we've done or any recommendations for addressing their needs. Since that time, I know Judge Yackel has met with District Attorney Poquette, and we have gotten more referrals than we were previously getting, which was 0. And now we have 4 people in diversion. So there has been some progress made there. Excuse me.
And we do have some other assessments set up, and there will be more coming, but we just don't have the list of everybody that they're going to be sending to us. For some of them, they're waiting because some have court like throughout December, like early January. And so they're going to try to work with attorneys by that time. So when the person goes to court, they know if they're comfortable doing diversion or if they want to go a different route for sentencing or like a plea agreement. So we do know there's more coming, and we do have some other assessments set up for people too that have court dates coming up.
Well, I'm glad to see that there are people that are being brought in here.
Mm-hmm.
I did not like to hear that there was nobody when we have such a strong need. And so we have to have the support coming all the way around. And so appreciate that, talking to the DA on what needs to be talked to and what needs to be done here, and that we take a look at things, what can we do?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm glad to hear that.
I just wanted to add something. I just wanted to say that when we started the Healing to Wellness Court, I started in July 2019, and the Healing to Wellness Court was just starting up. And we had very few services at that time. And I have to say, we have just increased our services to more mental health people, more addiction specialists. We're having meetings on the reservation, and I'd like to see, at least my vision is to have some kind of building similar to the Al-Anon building on the reservation, where they can take ownership of their building and they can hang out with other sober people, because I think that's a problem. But we've come a long way, but I think the county itself had very few services too. And this is a county problem too. I mean, the addiction problem is terrible, terrible. And I see it not only in the Healing to Wellness Court, but I see it in the minor need care cases, which are like your child protective services. And you know, there's so many children placed out of the home because their parents can't function. And then I hear people say, oh, the tribe should do more. It's not the tribe that's going to fix it. You know, the government can't fix it. It has to come from like a grassroots effort. The people have to decide that we've had enough. And I don't know what is the solution to the problem, but I think if we all work together, I think we can come up with some good solutions and try to try to help the people, which in turn will help the children, because I worry about the trauma on the children being placed out of the home for years at a time because their parents just can't function. And it's really sad. And I know you probably have the same problem here in the county. Very, very sad. So anyway, just wanted to say that we have more services, but I think we need more.
Anybody else have anything related to this? Thank you, everybody, for your input. Moving on, Greater Hayward Area House of Hope. Kathy, looking to report.
Yeah, things are going actually very well. We've had a couple graduate and doing good, and we're taking a new one in this afternoon, I believe, from LCO. So, and the guys that are in there are doing well, and we had to send one for some treatment, but because he came fresh off the streets, and so that sometimes happens, but it's going good. So.
How many minutes have been there on there?
Well, that'll be 4, and that's full. We're full at 4, so there, if we can get more room, that would be a nice thing, but.
Well, that's an interesting question. I know is transitions, not Oasis. Is Oasis closed now?
Yes.
See, I've been out of the loop for a long time, so I'm gonna have to get back in what's going on. So Oasis is closed.
Correct.
And so that building's just sitting empty right now.
Not empty right now. The health department
They're
is
using
doing
for COVID.
vaccinations
Yeah,
and
I
whatnot. And
noticed that.
that's on the Health and Human Service agenda Tuesday, just to discuss, and Public Works too, I think, about the building. But we'll see what happens. We've got ideas for that space.
Ideas related to what we're talking about here today, or ideas related to other functions?
Well, potentially that could help free up some space to do other things. Yes. Yeah, we'll let that play out in those committees, and then we can circle back
Okay.
on that.
Just because
next
we're
month.
talking about the need for a halfway house, we're talking about the need for a place. I mean, county has a building that is
Yes.
sitting empty now, basically. Well, not empty, but it was set up as a treatment program for juveniles. So,
Yes.
The day treatment's still operating on the other part of it, correct?
Correct.
the
Yeah.
day treatment is,
Yep.
yeah, because it was split too, right?
Yep.
Correct, yeah.
One of the big things is now when it comes to winter and guys are getting out of jail.
Yeah.
A lot of times there's no place to go. And so that's a
So they're willing
huge
to
need.
try, right?
Yeah, so it'd be nice to get a place that.
Yeah, because everybody then goes back to their friends that are
Mhm.
using.
Yep,
them.
Sleeping on
And
the
that's
couch.
exactly
we run into
what
that all
happens.
the time.
Yep.
Like
So
I had no choice.
Should probably Health and Human Service meets on Tuesday.
Pardon me?
Health and Human Service meets on
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
I got a question for Gary. Gary, are most of your people in your men's shelter, are they employed?
Well, they initially typically aren't, but then, yeah, they, the one who just graduated is working at Coops and another one is working in the area as well. And so they try to get them jobs and yeah.
Because now, we Sawyer County Lacouture Transit has that van service where they're working 2 shifts and they get a ride from the reservation, Hayward, Huber to Jack Link Snack Foods and back for like $1 each way.
Yeah.
And Jack Link's is really looking for employees.
Yeah.
And so the service is, and they run those vans, they're in 2 shifts, I think.
Could we get a number for that?
Sure.
Even if you don't have it today, just
Yep.
like send
There
it.
are a
to
lot of employers. I mean, employees are in great demand right now. I mean,
I don't think they came to jail just yet, but they're heading there.
to come in here to see.
For the Huber piece,
Oh, sure.
to help those who are seeking work. They have capacity for 10 in that one van, and they're getting the second van, but the one has room for a couple more. But like you said, there's a couple of spots, pick up drop offs.
Sure.
So if I do have a number for you. if I can-
Yeah. The Huber officer, Mr. Johnson, was at our meetings. I can't think of his name right now.
Carter Hartling,
He knows about it.
good.
Right, so going on, the LCO Women's Shelter update.
Yeah, and we invited Ms. Rice.
Yeah.
Maybe you should get up near a microphone.
For a shelter update, we're working with probation and parole, in Spooner, we did just recently, Washburn County. We've got one of their people, she came right from the jail. And she's staying with us. I just came from taking her to see her PO. We currently have 9 women. We're working, a lot of our women have substance abuse issues. We got a new one in today, and we do what we can to help them get into services with Bajiki and CCS, and we're just doing what we can. We've got room if you guys need to place people. I heard, there's some talk about not having places for them to go when they get out of jail. I'm also working with Mark with the first day out program. I missed last time I had a funeral to go to. So I'll be at the jail tomorrow. Candace and I are going to run the first day out program. So update, I don't know what more. We're there, we're staffed 24/7. We monitor, we check their bags as they go in and out. When they bring things in, even like you go to the store, they come back with even Walmart bags, to make sure they're not getting anything in. They do get things in there somehow, but like they get them in the jail too, get drugs into the jail. And we just work with the women that we have, the women and the children, with different programs in the community, giving them easier access to service so that they are comfortable. Some aren't comfortable getting into places, so we kind of not handhold, but really like handhold and help them work to get better or to try and get better. So
Did they open up to the family component yet?
yep, we did. We haven't had any. I had one call about a family, but they didn't come in. We're open. We have one wing for families. If we have they have to have children in common that they're taking care of. Otherwise, we do have the men's shelter. We've got 2 couples right now. We have 2 women at the women are at the women's shelter, and then 2 of the men went to the men's shelter. So if they have kids in common that they're taking care of and raising together, then we would take them in as a family. We've got female and male staff. So it's kind of as hopefully a deterrent to any kind of violence or to help de-escalate things. But it's going good. Our women love it there. They're comfortable. Mark comes in, he does meetings. We do like meetings with him, like not necessarily NA or AA, but like a well variety. We pick a topic and we talk about that and everybody shares it. We had a good one yesterday, but every Tuesday Mark comes up and works with us. So it's going really well. We opened in August and we've had some like come in and they leave because they don't want to follow rules. They want, but without rules, you have chaos. So yeah, I feel like it's going well. I don't know. You think so, but.
And we knew it was going to need time to go in that direction for its purpose. But it's good to see them adjusting to that now. Because it was not just going to be a phone calls or come and go, whatever you want. No, we want them to help.
Yeah, we have a curfew. We've got a 10 o'clock curfew where we've asked them if you're going to be in after 10 without like prior authorization. I mean, if they work, it's different. Provide a work schedule from your employer, then we know that they're at work. Otherwise, after 10, they have to call for a police escort and to bring them in. So that helps deter if they're under the influence or they do come in under the influence. They have. We've taken them in like that. We have one room that we put, I put at the end, like by an emergency exit. So if we need EMS, but it's for like those that come in that are coming off of drugs. It's like a withdrawal room, a single bed in there. We keep them comfortable and do what we can to help them through that period and give them some help. We're trying to, we don't want them to go to jail. When they have had stuff come in, we just take it and call police, they pick it up. We don't have legal consequence for that at that point. It's a one-time thing, but it's then how can we help them to not do this again? So we're learning and doing and tweaking and trying to get it so we have a good program going for our people.
So can only tribal members use the facility?
There is tribal preference, but with the lack of people coming in, we have accepted non-native as well. And they know when they come in that if we have a tribal member that needs that bed, then we have to make other arrangements. But we have 33 beds in our capacity right now, so
Wow.
we have room.
And Restorative funds both of our shelters through ARPA funds. So going forward for sustainability, we're gonna need to look at grants and things like that. And I think Elizabeth and her team have been looking at that so we can continue these shelters.
We sent them to the grants department, they're getting a hold of you guys, I did a budget modification yesterday with them. I was out for a week on COVID, so I've been nonstop meeting after meeting since I got back on Monday. But Jordan and Roy will be getting a hold of you guys to approve it's for a grant that's already in place, but so we can better service.
We've had such a homeless problem, that last year we ran into trouble by using hotels in town here, and that's not the answer. We realize that now, so now we've moved to shelters, and we hope that that's a much better option.
At the high school. Is there anything else then, related to the update for the LCNO women's and men's shelters?
I don't,
Give us an update?
I don't work that strictly volunteer.
You can have on next time one.
We can.
Okay, all right, we'll put that for next month and a future agenda item. Is there any other future agenda items they'd like to see on the agenda?
I guess I'd like us to continue to look at that restorative justice. As Nikki said, they don't offer that, but we can look for that in the area, because that seems to be like a wonderful option.
I'd like to see that.
Why don't you send, if you want to
Yeah,
send people
I can find
to
that.
the committee. so
Melissa,
they-
can you still find it? Go back at your email.
I will try.
I'll look at mine.
I know how that
It
is.
was months ago, but I'll send it again.
Find something.
I was like, I have like lists of like
I-
sub emails like saved to the side.
Yes, I can.
and-
It's something we can
Sure.
think about. I mean, and I don't want to put you down on the idea because I've actually listened to some very good programs about restorative justice too. And a different approach, but we need to get a handle on what we have going on in our own court system somehow first, I think, before we think about trying to branch out. I mean, that's just my own personal opinion into something else, because we need to solve the issues that we've going on here with our own jail and with, diversion, so.
I'd like to add, I was gone to for a period of time. We had a lot of death in the family, and I think I was one of them. And he had a vision, and he had his heart in the right place to help people. But he's meeting with the jail, he's meeting with all the different departments of tribe, everybody, he's all over the place. And he was attended here, and he was seeking those ways to help people. So he's no longer here now, but I want to continue that. Whatever ways we can do to make that happen. I think, we have the right people in the right place. Let's make this happen so we can continue to help our people instead of losing as many as we have. And so whatever program, whatever it is, and he really was reaching out now to the jails to try to help those who are incarcerated. And again, when they come out and leave that door, where are they going? How can we keep them away from going back and, to better their lives? So I just wanted to mention that. So hopefully you can keep moving on that.
He met with us at the jail, it was Mark and Candace and I and Jason.
And does the committees want to meet every month still, or do you want to go to every 2 months? I mean, what's the preference?
Monthly.
Let's meet next month again at least, and then we can kind of see how it goes from there. So, so the other question is then, Mr. Schlender was the county representative, county board representative. So we will need to have another county board representative appointed to this committee, correct?
I would think so, yeah.
And it's on the December county board agenda.
Okay. All right. So if we looked at January, are Wednesdays good for people? The 12th would be the second Wednesday, 19th would be the third Wednesday. Does it make any difference?
Yeah, 12th is good for me.
Yep.
What
12th
about the
works.
what about the 19th?
12th is good.
19th
That
works
works
too.
too.
19th work for everybody too?
Mhm.
I'm not gonna be able to do the 12th.
Oh,
I have
well,
to take my
then we definitely
parents
want
to
the
the
19th.
doctor, so.
Um,
I'm doing a lot of care.
I don't know,
parent
is-
care.
Their Martin Luther King Jr. Day off here, or is that, I don't know which day that falls in
That's,
January.
on Monday.
That's
Monday,
Monday, that's the
17th.
17th.
Okay.
Are you looking at January?
I'm looking at January.
Okay.
January 19th then, so we plan on January 19th at noon.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
January 19th?
Yep.
Thank you very much, everybody. I have some catching up to do.
Yeah.
Paper back.
And you as well, Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah.